Welcome to the Becoming Superhuman podcast, where we interview extraordinary people to bring you the skills and strategies to overcome the impossible. And now, here's your host, Jonathan Levy.
This episode is brought to you by my all-new Super Learner Academy, the home not only of the all-new Become a Super Learner 2.0, but also of my exclusive masterclasses and audiobooks, digital books, and tons of exclusive content only available to members of my masterclasses or my masterclass bundle, where you can purchase multiple courses and save a ton on getting all of that great content. So to check it out and to see all this amazing new content that we've recorded exclusively for Super Learner Academy, visit becomeasuperlearner.com and use the coupon code podcast to save. Greetings, super friends, and welcome to the Becoming Superhuman podcast, where I interview some of the world's most accomplished, most extraordinary superhumans to try and tease out not just how they learn and what they do, but the techniques and strategies that you can apply to make yourself a little bit more superhuman. Before we get started, I want to read a quick review to you guys from Dissit Louge of the United States of America. I do hope I am pronouncing that correctly, but I'm sure I'm not. He or she says, awesome content and even better host and guests. It's a short review, but it's a sweet review. Thank you so much for it. And if you guys want to hear your own review and your own name being butchered on the show, leave a review and I'll make sure to embarrass myself reading it out. Now on to today's show. Today's guest, as so many of our guests, has a pretty unusual story. And that's because she started her career by spending 22 years as a nurse. She started out actually in a burn intensive care unit. So pretty serious stuff. Her experience in that world, though, really caused her to understand just how vital the body's largest organ is. And if you don't know, that organ is actually our skin. And as I learned in this episode, it's extremely important in protecting us and promoting our overall health. Now, since this revelation, she's actually gone on to found a company called Primal Life Organics, and they are a skincare company which produces and promotes natural and healing products for the skin. Now, at this point in the episode, especially if you're a guy, you might be thinking, how is this superhuman? You might even be thinking that you're going to skip this one and maybe tune in next week. But I encourage you not to do that. And that's because my guest today is going to explain to us that there are hundreds, if not thousands of chemicals in your shower and in all the products that you're using in your home that are dramatically affecting your ability to thrive at peak health. And so in this episode, we're actually going to get into some of these chemicals. We're going to begin to understand what they do to the body, and we're going to talk about alternative ways to deal with the hygiene and maintenance of our skin that we all must do. I mean, we all have to shower, and we're going to figure out what roles the skin can play in your overall health and how you can help it do that by not, poisoning it. In fact, there are actually a ton of really odd and really surprising revelations in this episode that I think you guys are just absolutely going to love. Particularly, by the way, if you share my interest and passion for testosterone and endocrine optimization, I think you're going to learn a ton in this episode. And by the way, make sure to check out the blog post for this episode at becomingasuperhuman.com, where you will find a special link to get 50% off of the products that we talk about in this show. By the way, one more fun fact. I know we're running a little long in the intro, but as a fun fact, it turns out my guest is actually married to a past guest of the show, Josh Felber, showing that superhuman couples do in fact exist. And I made sure to ask her a little bit about that and see what that's like. So without any further ado, let me present to you Miss Trina Felber. Miss Trina Felber, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you today.
Hi, Jonathan. Thank you so much. I am really excited.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. You know, we had such a good time talking with Josh that I can only imagine we're going to have even more fun chatting with you.
Yeah, I'm more interesting than Josh. I'm kidding.
So Trina, I think a lot of my audience is wondering, after hearing the intro and hearing about what you do, what exactly does skincare have to do with becoming superhuman? So perhaps you can talk to us a little bit about the role of our skin in our balance of optimal health.
Well, first off, if you think about yourself, it really is your identity. I mean, when you think about the human being or the superhuman being, your identity really wraps around your skin. And it's the first thing that people usually see, even though you don't necessarily realize it. It really creates who you are, whether it is even just being comfortable with the skin you're in or other people seeing flaws in your skin, because that really makes a difference in your perception of yourself as well. So being comfortable in the skin you're in, but also it has to do with how it actually protects your body on the inside, because your skin has a lot of functions that go way deeper than just what you see on the outside.
Tell us a little bit about those.
The functions of the skin. Yes, your skin is extremely important. And, this goes back into my background. Like we mentioned, I was a burn nurse when I first started my career back in the 90s. And I really got to see what the damage to the skin can do to a person, not just on the physical level, but on the mental level as well. Not just on the outside, but on the inside, because all of your organs depend upon your skin. And when your skin is not functioning the way it's supposed to, everything on the inside gets disrupted as well, to the point where you can actually die from an injury to your skin. So it is extremely important, but it is protective for waterproofing us. The water that you come in contact with when you bathe or when you go in the swimming pool doesn't get absorbed into your body. Otherwise, we'd all be balloons within an hour. So it really is waterproofing, and it protects what goes in and what goes out. It has a great function of keeping you hydrated. So evaporating water off of you to cool you, but also to keep you hydrated on the inside. It offers you the sense of touch. Without it, you would not have a sense of touch. It regulates your body temperature, and it also is a place for storage and synthesis if you think about your subcutaneous fat.
Wow. So that's a long laundry list of benefits that, we talk in such detail in the show about things like mitochondrial health, but we've never talked about skin health. And so I'm wondering, how can people determine whether or not their skin is well cared for and if it is doing all of those functions?
I like to say this, and it's like one of those moments where you stop and have to think about it and go, yeah, your skin is your largest organ. And it's the organ that you can actually see. So if you're not happy with the way your skin looks, imagine what the rest of your organs look like, because it's a very good indicator for what the rest of your organs look like. If your skin looks dehydrated, if it's got external conditions such as acne or rosacea, some of those things can also be an indication of what your internal organs also look like. If there's some inflammatory responses, if it's dehydrated, if you get cuts and it doesn't heal real well. I mean, if it's your largest organ and the one you can see, you have to connect the dots that your internal organs could be as affected as well.
Wow. So what are the things that people need to be looking out for and need to be doing to make sure that their skin is at optimal health?
I was introduced to the paleo diet by my husband, Josh, and it never really dawned on me, even being a nurse in the burn center, that you really need to feed your skin a diet that you would eat as well. If you take care of your skin and feed it vitamins and minerals, essential fatty acids, antioxidants, it's going to be absorbed into your body through your skin, and it's going to create optimal health, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So one of the biggest questions that I had, because I do love the tagline of your company, which is paleo skincare. And, I started to wonder, because I'm actually reading a book about what did life look like, romantic life for our Paleolithic ancestors. And of course, we've had Rob Wolf and Lauren Cordain who talk about the diet of our Paleolithic ancestors. What does anthropological research show us about the skincare routines or how Paleolithic people might have taken care of their skin?
It's really, when I look at or think about how someone millions of years ago might have taken care of their skin, I have to think about what their diet really consisted of back then, because skincare might not have been like what we traditionally think of, soap, moisturizers, things like that, but came more from the earth. So they probably used dirt to cleanse themselves. Dirt is very cleansing. In fact, I use it in some of my products, clay. I use it in a product called Dirty Mouth Tooth Powder because it contains the minerals that your teeth actually need to actually heal and remineralize, put the minerals back in your teeth so they can be strong. So I think that our ancestors probably washed their hair. I actually make a hair wash out of dirt as well, but wash their hair, wash their bodies with dirt. You have to remember that their diet came from soil. Even eating the animals that they hunted, the animals had a cleaner diet back then because the soil was more rich in the nutrients that we need. So when you think about omegas and vitamin D, those things on the inside will also offer sun protection and protection for your skin. So when we look at our ancestors, it might not look like the skincare that we're using today, but a lot of it is very similar, or a lot of it might have come from their diet.
Yeah, you addressed one of the questions that I had, which is you have to wonder how people were dealing with sun protection. I mean, you have to gather during daylight hours, and at the same time, most of us who haven't evolved with darker skin pigment had to figure out a way to protect ourselves from the sun's rays. I mean, modern people spend an hour and a half to 2 hours in the sun, and if they're not dark pigmented, they're burning.
Right.
So, and that's one day.
Yeah. And a lot of it came from their diet, because if your cells are healthy and there's omega, you're getting your omegas and you're getting your vitamin D, then you're going to be protected a little bit better on the inside, as well as using the dirt. I'm sure, you've seen pictures of face painting, body painting. So that was probably done. Maybe they didn't know it, but to protect them from the sun as well.
Yeah.
The dirt that they put on their face had multiple purposes, but when we look at it, we see it as face paint. When they're putting it on, they're protecting themselves. It's like an armor or a shield.
Right. So fast forwarding to today, we've talked with a few experts from Ben Greenfield to Dr. Tammy Maraglia, who have alluded to the fact that many of the chemicals in seemingly benign household products are actually really quite unhealthy. And we haven't gone into really, I feel, enough detail on this. So can you talk a little bit about some of the more dangerous of these chemicals and what products they're in and what they're doing in our bodies?
Oh, sure. I love this topic. It's a huge topic. So I'll just hit the highlights with it because it's all over the internet. If you Google information about toxic skincare and things like that, you can get a lot of information. It can be overwhelming, especially when you start looking at what you have at home. My motto, I'd love to get a t-shirt that says just flip it over, meaning flip your bottle over and read the ingredients. Because if you can start to recognize the ingredients that are harmful to your body, including, this is my number one pet peeve, water. Most people don't consider water something to be harmful to the outside of their body, but I have a little bit different view on that. Now, water is not absorbed through your body or through the skin. It evaporates off your skin. And as it evaporates, it takes some of your protective mechanisms with it, like your oils, strips away your barrier a little bit so other things that are more toxic can enter a little bit easier. The problem with most commercial skincare products is that water is the number one ingredient on the list. They go by the highest to the lowest concentration. So when water's first or second, it means it could have up to 90% water in it. And I want you to take a closer look because most likely it doesn't say it's purified water. So most likely what you're putting on your skin is tap water that's polluted with we don't know what. So one of the most toxic product ingredients, I think, is water.
Interesting.
But if you're looking at more of a lab-made type ingredient, take a close look to see if you have parabens in there. And parabens are used as preservatives. So most commercial products have to have some sort of preservative. Most likely it's a paraben because it's cheap and it's easy to use. Because of the ingredients that are in there and because of a shelf life, they want to be able to make something today that will sit on the shelf or could sit on the shelf for about 3 or 4 years. But parabens are endocrine disruptors, so they kind of mess up your entire hormonal system. They have been linked to breast cancer, and that's in men and women. And when we talk about breast cancer, we can also put in there like testicular cancer for men. But they can also cause skin aging and DNA damage, but they can be found in all sorts of products, including moisturizers, shampoos, conditioners, and even makeup for women.
Wow. And it's just listed on the label, plain as day, just parabens?
Yeah, you'll see like paraben or methylparaben, but if it ends in paraben, it's a paraben.
Wow.
So that's, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I want to come back to that in a sec, but I do want to ask on the topic of water. I mean,
do I have you intrigued on water?
Yeah. I mean, what does that say for my tap water shower or washing your hands with normal tap water? I mean,
this is where I tell people, when you're thinking about life, because you can't get too crazy with it, you have to think about optimizing your health where you have the control over it. And the products that you buy, you have control over that. Those are the things that are going to sit on your skin and be absorbed and cause the most damage. When you're washing your hands or washing your body, it's usually a limited amount. You get in, you wash, you dry, you're done. And the water is, you're tapping it off, patting it off, and you're not going to let the water just sit there. The other thing, if you want to, you can buy a shower head that will filter the water coming out of your shower. So if you want to do something to improve your health, you can buy water filters that they go right on your shower head. You just put it in and it filters the water out so that you have cleaner or better, safer water to shower in.
And that's to try and get some of the minerals out, or what are we trying to get out of the tap water?
It'll just purify, some of the minerals, and it'll purify what's like the chlorine and things like that.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine that's not good to sit on the skin.
Yeah, so it just purifies it. So it softens the water a little bit and makes it a little bit cleaner. And when you go to the restaurants and out in public, you got to wash your hands. So at least when you have control over it, there are things in your control. That's where my focus is what are the things you can control. You can't necessarily control the water that's in a restaurant. Wash your hands. Don't worry about it. You've optimized your health so that anything that could be polluting you right then and there, your liver or your body will be able to deal with.
Sure. So let me touch back on these harmful chemicals. I mean, are parabens really the main thing that we need to worry about, or are there other substances in these products, whether it be the cleaning chemicals that we use on our floor, all the way up to the shampoo, the moisturizer, the baby powder we put in diapers? I mean, what are the other things that we need to be worried about?
Oh, there's a lot of things. And all of this comes down to the fact that as you become more aware of these things, you become more protective of yourself when you realize that it's not just in my moisturizer that I use every day. It's also in my laundry detergent, and my clothes are sitting next to my body on my skin how many hours out of the day. For most of it, it's at least 16 to 20 hours or more. And, not just the moisturizers, there's ingredients in makeup and hand wash and hand sanitizer. So it's overwhelming, but it's just increasing your awareness. But the other top ingredients are like phthalates. Phthalates are used as softeners, but they're also endocrine disruptors. They interfere with the hormone function. They can cause reproductive damage as well as affect fertility. They can cause neurological damage, but those are also in most personal care products, nail products, cosmetics. They're also in children's toys. That's another big one. Petroleum or mineral oils are also another ingredient you'll find in ingredients like creams, and you talked about baby rash ointments and other personal care products, meaning moisturizers and things like that. But it's used as a base, but they disrupt the hormonal system too. So as you're seeing a repeat here, think of all the things, and some of these ingredients are in the same product. So there's no regulation by FDA for skincare.
Wow.
The defense side of this says, oh, but there's such a minute amount. But when I look at it, I go, yeah, but there's a minute amount in almost every product I use. And not only is it this ingredient, but it's also this ingredient that does the same thing and this ingredient. So it's more of a cumulative effect for skincare when you're looking at it.
Death by a million cuts, as they say.
It is.
Wow. So give us a crash course, Trina, if you can, both for men and for women. What do we need to do to keep our skin functioning as it should? I mean, shouldn't my body's natural oils keep my skin moisturized? And besides kind of like the hygiene that I think our social norms dictate, I mean, what else do I need to do to keep my skin functioning as kind of a modern human being?
Well, diet is really important. I don't think that you can talk about skincare without really talking about diet. So you really, really want to focus on a healthy diet that is good in good fats. You want good omegas. You want antioxidant protection. Multivitamins are good because most likely we're not getting all of that because our soil's depleted, and it just helps balance it out. So you want a good diet, and I don't really want to go into diet, but that is a basic structure that you need to have. On top of that, keeping your skin hydrated on the outside is extremely important. So washing with a soap that doesn't contain ingredients that are going to actually strip the oils. You know, you talked about washing your face with soap, but soap contains ingredients that are going to actually take your natural oils and remove them. So that's removing your first barrier. So some people do an oil cleansing. Just to know that you can actually wash your face with oil is very powerful. I created a couple face washes that don't use anything that strips your natural oils. It contains oils that are saponified, which is just a process, a natural process to make it a little bit more friendly to the skin for cleansing. And it will actually suds just a little bit. But it doesn't strip your natural oils, which are protective, will keep you hydrated, keep your natural bacteria. You have bacteria that live on the surface of your skin that will eat the bacteria that are harmful.
Wow. That is so interesting because you always think like my face is shiny and oily and I want to wash it. But it sounds like the role of the shower then becomes just to get rid of like built up sweat and or body odor or whatever. And in fact, you actually want to keep those oils there.
It's interesting that you say that because I had acne. I suffered from acne until I was 40 and discovered my own skincare. But I had very oily skin and I was terrified to put oil on my skin. But when I actually sat down and researched what was going on for those first 40 years of my life, or the majority of it, I realized that the ingredients that I was putting on my skin from commercial skincare, like the SLS, sodium lauryl sulfate, actually was stripping my natural oils and my natural defensive mechanisms. So my body wanted to auto protect. So in order to do that, it started secreting more sebum of my natural oils. And once I started putting oil on my skin, my body realized, oh my gosh, we don't need to do this anymore. I no longer have oily skin.
Fascinating.
So it's really, if you have oily skin, it might not be what you need to live with. Maybe just changing what you're using is going to suffice. And I'll tell you, so many of my customers, that's one of the things that they tell me is that their skin normalized. They never had normal skin in their life and they didn't know why. And it was because they were stripping their natural oils. And two things happen. Either your skin gets extremely dry because your body can't compensate, or your body overcompensates and you end up with very oily skin.
Wow. This is kind of blowing my mind because I use this scrub every morning and just like scrub all the gunk off my face. And I'm realizing that's probably not a good idea.
Okay. Well, I'm going to send you, so you're going to email me your address because I'm going to send you some stuff so you don't have to use that.
Awesome. I would totally love to try it. Trina, let me ask on that note, actually, what are some good products that you recommend starting with? I mean, is this clean out the kitchen cabinet and start fresh, or is this a try one thing, start here kind of journey?
That's a loaded question.
They all are.
I know. No, actually, it's what you're comfortable with. And it's extremely overwhelming when you start to think of all your skincare products that you use. And for women, that includes makeup. I tell people that there's a couple things that I usually recommend starting with, and I put together a starter package on my website. It's called the starter package because it's just very simply the things that you use almost every day that will make a huge difference, and then expand from there. So the starter package contains a face wash, like we talked about, because that's going to normalize your skin, a face moisturizer that will help to detoxify the things, because those things that you've been using stay in fat tissue. They love fat. So they actually can stay in your fat tissue for a little while. So sometimes it can take 4 to 6 weeks for those things to work their way out of your fat tissue and for your skin to normalize. So as a face wash, a face moisturizer, it has a deodorant. My deodorant is called the Stick Up, and it's made with all natural ingredients. It's very effective. Now, it does not prevent you from sweating because you really want to sweat because that's your body's way to detoxify. And if you're not letting the sweat out, the sweat and the toxins are going to go somewhere else in your body, and your lymphatic system will take them wherever it can take them, including your brain.
Wow. That's a pretty compelling argument against antiperspirants.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, man.
The antiperspirants, the aluminum in antiperspirants has been found in the brain tissue of Alzheimer victims.
Oh, boy. I've been using like the strongest aluminum, whatever antiperspirant I can possibly find. I mean, I live in a country where it easily gets over 100 degrees Fahrenheit on any given day.
Yeah, well, the thing is, when you convert over to like my Stick Up or a product that's very similar that uses just the natural, that's not an antiperspirant, you're going to find that you'll probably need to reapply it 2 or 3 times a day for maybe a week or 2. And then as your body adjusts, because your body's so used to what you're using, as your body adjusts, you should be able to go down to 1 time a day. And when you reapply it, it will take away the odor, but you do want to be able to sweat. And it's not like you're going to sweat profusely like you think you will, because your body's going to adjust. And if there's less toxins to get out of your body, then you're going to need to sweat less. Now, the heat, obviously, the sweating is a cooling mechanism. So if you're not letting your body sweat and get rid of some of those toxins, then you're just going to be harboring them on the inside. So
on some level, I feel like wearing clothes is not what our bodies were designed to do. And so it's kind of dancing around that fact that, well, we wear dress shirts or we wear blouses and there are sweat marks on them. And that's just a product of the fact that our bodies are really meant to be in the open air.
Yeah, completely natural. But the other products that are in the starter package, so I'll send you a starter package, is my Dirty Mouth Tooth Powder. And like I touched on earlier, it's literally washing your mouth or brushing your teeth with dirt.
I love it.
It's really cool. So you literally just dip your toothbrush underwater and dip your toothbrush in the powder and then brush. And it is such an amazing, it's almost like just going to the dentist. And some people say even the dentist never got their teeth that clean.
Wow.
And it really puts the minerals right there, because most people don't realize that when you're brushing with commercial toothpaste, you might be cleaning your teeth, but you're literally not doing anything to promote the health of your teeth, because your teeth, just through wear and tear and diet and acids, especially processed foods that contain a lot of sugars, that breaks down the enamel and the minerals leach out of your teeth.
Right.
In order for your teeth to remineralize, they have to have those minerals present in your mouth. You can't take a supplement. It doesn't come from your bloodstream. It has to be in what you're eating or what you're brushing your teeth with. If you're eating a whole food diet, you are probably getting a good amount of minerals, but because the soil is more depleted than it was in the past, there's less minerals available. So what I did, I actually made this because my daughter had a defect. She was born with a defect in her molar. And I was concerned, as well as the dentist, that molar was going to come out very early. And I started researching, how am I going to get this to heal? How can I heal the tooth? And unbeknownst to me, the clays, like bentonite clay and French green clay that I put in my Dirty Mouth Tooth Powder, have the exact same minerals that your teeth need. And if you're brushing your teeth with them, obviously they're getting right there where that defect is, whether it's a soft spot or it's a deeper cavity. I actually had a woman in Texas, went to her doctor. She had 5 cavities. You can hear her actual voice tell her story on my website, on the Dirty Mouth Tooth Powder page. She called me. She had gone to her dentist. She needed a root canal for one of her 5 cavities. And when she showed up, she had been using my tooth powder for a while to help try and heal. When she showed up, they told her she only had 1 cavity and did not need a root canal. So remineralization can happen.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. So anyway, that's in the starter package, as well as a hand repair, because as a nurse, my background's in anesthesia. In the operating room, we wash our hands thousands of times a day, and I needed something that was going to keep and protect my hands. So that's what comes in the starter package. Beyond that, I usually tell people start with the basics, and then as you become more and more aware of what you're using, as well as you see how your body adapts to what is 100% natural and food-based, you'll be able to make decisions much quicker and say, oh my gosh, I don't want to use this, and what's next, and take it to the next level in a process.
I love that. And I love the kind of N=1 approach that seems to be so common among health experts and biohackers alike these days. Trina, I want to ask you, what are some of the books that you've given most as gifts, either in your capacity as a medical professional or in your capacity as a paleo enthusiast? What books are you recommending to folks?
Well, of course, I recommend my book.
Of course. Tell us a bit about that.
Beauty's Dirty Secret. It's a little bit about what we talked about, but on a deeper level, and it goes into a little bit more detail. I actually talk about in there too, how when you absorb chemicals through the skin, it's different than when you ingest them. So it's a really easy read. I wrote it more as a nurse because I really wanted to help people understand the reason behind what health looks like and optimizing your health could look like for you. I don't want to get into the medical jargon. I just want to make it really simple so that you understand why you should do what you do or how it could benefit you and your children. So my book, Beauty's Dirty Secret, but a book I also loved reading that's a very quick book read that I gave to some of my managers is The 1 Minute Manager.
Oh, I love that book.
I know, I love it. So I just recently gave a couple of those out. And right now that's just on my mind because I really love goal setting and not wasting time. And if you're someone that really needs to learn how to manage goals and manage your time and manage your staff, it's a great book.
Yeah. Now, have you read the new 1 Minute Manager?
That's the one I have, yes.
Okay, good. Because I love that they take this approach of, in the 1980s, it used to be this way, but now people are kind of self-directed and people want to be validated in this way. And they really talk about, I think often my generation is considered unmanageable because we're all little tyrants and we've been told all our lives, you did a good job and everyone gets a medal. But they really do a nice job in that book talking about this is how you need to motivate people in 2000 and X.
Yeah.
Now, Trina, how big is your team, by the way?
My team, I have 2 assistant managers or managers that work with me that manage my team. I have my packaging staff, and then I also have my kitchen staff. So I have probably 20 employees right now. And then obviously I have like a marketing team that helps me with all of my social media and things like that. So yeah, it's been a journey for me because my background's in nursing, not in business. So it's been really a fun road because I never expected to be sitting in this seat right now.
That's so cool. And I have to say, I think we could do a whole separate episode just on finding a partner who inspires you and interview both you and Josh, because it's clear you guys have accelerated one another in your careers. And I think that's the ideal. That's truly a superhuman accomplishment. And I'm so inspired by the way that Josh was the first to say, you've got to meet my wife. You've got to interview her. She's a superhero. And just think that's so cool.
It's really funny because we complement each other really, really well. I'm the artistic type person, obviously the creator of this, but this whole thing came about because I had started making the products for myself and for my daughter when I realized how toxic things were. And I was sitting there, she was just a couple weeks old. People were loving the things I was making and I was feeding her. And I happened to look up and I, said to him, I should just make this stuff and sell it. Never expecting him to turn around and go, okay, I know someone that can do a logo for you. So just let me know what you want to call yourself and I'll go get a domain right now. I'll get your website started. And I was like, oh my God, that's what happens when you tell an entrepreneur you want to do something.
Right. I've definitely played that role for friends and family in my life. It's like, we don't know the theoretical. It's like, okay, cool. So when are we launching?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I jumped in with 2 feet and I say today laughingly, I'm so glad I didn't know how much work it was because there's no way I would have jumped in with 2 feet. But I'm so glad it was a process for me because it's been such a great learning experience. Even just keeping up and learning technology has been amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really funny that you say that because I don't remember in what context, but I learned about some mechanism in the female brain that kind of forgets the pain of childbirth, which is the only way that women are convinced to have children again. When I learned that in that moment, I was like, yeah, that's what it was like when I had my baby, which was my first company. Yeah. I didn't remember how much work it was. And so I did it again.
Because once you're an entrepreneur and you have that fire inside you that you're building something and creating something, it's the same thing. Like you're like, what's next? When can I start something else? Or you think of little projects that can develop into something more. Like the brain is just wired like that. It's really cool.
Absolutely. So Trina, we're coming up on the end here. I want to ask you second to last question, which is where can people learn more, check out your book and check out your products?
Yes, primallifeorganics.com is where my website is. A lot of information on there. I have webinars and videos and frequently asked question type things. So yeah, lots of information, plus all of my products are there. You can email us. There's a tab on there for support, or you can email us at support@primallifeorganics.com. I have a team of support girls that answer questions and emails. I have a blog, cavegirlskincare.com. You can get to it from the website. Of course, you can find me on social media. Facebook would be Primal Life Organics. Twitter is Primal Life Org, as well as Instagram is Primal Life Org. And then I'm also on Pinterest. My book you can buy either through the website or Beauty's Dirty Secret on Amazon or Barnes & Noble.
Awesome. You've got this entrepreneurship pitch thing down pat. That was like fluid. I'm totally impressed. You must have a really good high performance coach you work with.
I would say so.
That is awesome. Trina, I want to ask you one more question. The question we'll end on, which is, if people take away only one lesson from this episode and take it with them for the rest of their superhuman lives, what would you hope that lesson would be?
Well, if you want to be superhuman, you have to optimize your health. And that means your outside and your inside, and not just the inside by your organ potential, but also by your brain power. Optimize everything you do. So make it healthy.
I love it. And that's a fantastic point to end on. Trina Felber, it has been such a pleasure chatting with you. You are so much fun. I think you might be right. We had a lot of fun with Josh, but it's going to be hard to compare. And thank you so much for sharing your time and your wisdom with us.
Awesome, Jonathan. And you are sending me your address because I'm sending you some goodies.
You got it. I'll send it to you right now.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, Trina.
All right, super friends, that's it for this week's episode. We hope you really, really enjoyed it and learned a ton of applicable stuff that can help you go out there and overcome the impossible. If so, please do us a favor and leave us a review on iTunes or Stitcher or however you found this podcast. In addition to that, we are always looking for great guest posts on the blog or awesome guests right here on the podcast. So if you know somebody, or you are somebody, or you have thought of somebody who would be a great fit for the show or for our blog, please reach out to us either on Twitter or by email. Our email is info@becomingasuperhuman.com. Thanks so much.
Thanks for tuning in to the Becoming Superhuman podcast. For more great skills and strategies, or for links to any of the resources mentioned in this episode, visit www.becomingasuperhuman.com/podcast. We'll see you next time.